Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. How are we coming at this word today? We have been digging into these words now for almost, just over 6 months now. And every word just seems like it just comes in perfect sequencing or close to what I'm working in the moment, or, kind of in that messaging of pushing forward. And that's the word, we've gotten this week was the word movement. And, last week we had that word goals. This week we have the word movement, but I have been working in goals myself, feeling that breath on the back of my neck, like I should know exactly where I'm going and how I'm going to get there. When in all fact, I am clueless, but I think I'm just bumbling along just like everybody else. And, I get that comfort and that sense of everything's going to be okay just in following the lessons, right? Right? Following that sequencing, reading into it a little bit, and understanding that there are lessons. And if it came across my path, it came across my path for a reason. We got this word movement, I guess we're going to tie it back a little bit to this goal setting, because this is something that I have always done in the way of moving forward, keeping going, never giving up, finding a way. It was that idea that there was a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, or happy ever afters, or a prize, a gift, a reward, right? This is the motivation that has, for my own part in doing this for myself, because life can be difficult. Life can be hard. Life can make you just want to sit on your haunches and, right, give up. Couldn't tell you how many times I almost gave up on my brand. And only in a lesson and only in the idea that, you know what, you hack away at it. You never give up. Well, at first it was a lot of giving up, because the brand is still here, right? But it doesn't look anything like when I came on to YouTube. When I came on to YouTube, I was an urban explorer. I explored abandoned farms, abandoned houses, one room schoolhouses, abandoned churches. Then I moved into the road trips and, right, surviving Cindy, where I built a winter fort. Then I started my chatters live. Then COVID hits, right? And again, I explore the inside and the outside, and, grateful that I learned to combine my passions together, that it was an easy pivot, because, that's how I look at how I used to move, right? When things got difficult, things didn't go my way, if I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, I would pivot. And pivot is kind of like a giving up, isn't it? It's throwing up your hands and saying, I can't figure it out. I'm going to go off and do something else. And it was really, really difficult, because when you invest in these things, when I was investing in being an urban explorer, when that was the movement that I was going to be doing, to have a complete turnaround, and a very painful, scary surprising, confusing kind of experience that, again, it threw me for a loop, and I pivoted. But this time I didn't pivot because I didn't have the answers. I was pivoting because I was moving, right? I was moving into something else naturally, quickly, and sometimes it works out that way. I've come to realize in the past half a dozen years or so that some lessons are easily absorbed, some lessons are not so easily absorbed, and sometimes it's just repeat, repeat, repeat until it finally sinks into, right? Until it finally sinks in. But sometimes we miss it. We miss it completely, right? And, we can beat ourselves up in that, or we can just accept it and adapt, conquer, maybe do a pivot, right? But all of that is movement. It's right. All of that is making a choice and just making a movement. And the more movement you make, right, in the pursuits of your wants and desires, right, as long as you keep it up, it's like a snowball going down a hill, right? Starts off this big, and as it rolls, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's not such a good thing, because again, we have to make sure that, right, that we're smiling during the process, that it's not super scary. Well, it's going to be scary. Whatever we don't understand, whatever we've never experienced before, right? There is going to be a certain amount of fear in that. But that's when we have to drum up the very best of us, right? Because no matter what, that movement has to be made. So you drum up the best to yourself. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. At least you tried, right? At least you could give yourself a little bit of congratulations, a little bit of pride, because a lot of people wouldn't have even tried, right? Wouldn't have even tried, would have given up, wouldn't have even tried to pivot. They just would have that's it, done. And people do it all the time. In the networks that I hang out with, I hang with the entrepreneurs, right? Such a small percentage succeed, right? Such a small percentage succeed, but it's those who never give up, because you can't help but fail when you're an entrepreneur, right? You can't help but struggle. You can't help but have all those turmoils that go along with it, meaning the stress and the anxiety, right? Dancing on the edge of the flame with your finances, possibly, right? Letting your family sacrifice because you're chasing after a dream, right? Or bring them along for the ride, screwing them up a little bit. only expressing through my own experience, coming through a dynamic family where we were just moving along with my father in his pursuit of his wants and dreams. Went to 11 different elementary schools growing up, right? And each one offered me a different experience, but it was in my choices to bring the old to the new, or create the new as I moved into it, as an experiment, right? As a way to see if possibly I could better fit in. I could make that that a little bit of cushioning in between something that was very, very difficult for me, but I didn't have a choice because I was moving along in my father's movement, right? My father took his family along for that ride. And it was a ride. It was an amazing, spectacular, dazzle and amaze, full of excitement and fun and joy. And that's the truth. But that's the truth through the eyes of a child, the eyes of a child that wasn't woke up to any of the ideas I'm woken up to at this moment, because if I was, I would have been hard into the lessons and I would have shown up, right, to the table a lot sooner than I did, right? So I'm making movement, right? I'm trying to the best of my abilities, not having anybody around me totally that came in when I did. I guess there are a few, but in the different categories. Because, like I said, when I came in as a urban explorer, right? And those first connections, those first networks that I was feeling it out were the the communities of the urban explorers and of the adventurers and of the right Mother Nature people, things that I loved. That's the way it's supposed to be. But I didn't totally give them up, but I was taught that, I can amalgamate all of those parts of me, that there's a place for, I don't know, that comfortable ability is what it is, right? Because when I'm happy and content in what I'm doing, there is a sense of joy. There is a sense of contentment. There's a sense of gratefulness for being included in this party and for being part of the human race, right? And it could have been a different story there. It could have been a different story there, right? I come from a dynamic family from both spectrums, ends, right? And it was only through my choices that I was able to, it wasn't push away, though it might have looked that way, it might have felt that way. It was only a matter of making a better choice, right? When there are choices to be had, of course you're going to take what's right best and leave the rest. And leave the rest. And I made my movement that way. And I'm grateful that I did because, I see the struggles that my sister have because of these strong controlling traits, right? They don't understand that they only have control over their own life. They don't have the control over others, but they try and I don't know, they've seemed to make it work for them, right? But I don't know. Maybe maybe it is just me along for that ride. I know my nieces and nephews, right? They're doing absolutely amazing and they're open-minded to a lot of this movement and a lot of these ideas that I, right, have come across, absorbed, tossed to the side, right? And come to the table with. And if I come to the table with it, it only means it's impacted me. And if it's impacted me, if it's helped me to make a little bit of movement, right? I'm right where I'm supposed to be, right? As that little drummer girl thinking that she has nothing to offer, wanting to be a philanthropist and has nothing to offer, while I'm offering my experience in the idea that these experiences are going to become a lot more common, right, than they have been. But, right, being more common. We're going to need more help in that. There should be more solutions. People shouldn't come in and crash and burn immediately, right? There should be a little bit of cushioning. There should be people there waiting for them at the airport. Follow me, right? You only have the opportunity to have that control, right, over ourselves. And it is the truth. I could talk till I'm blue in the face, but if somebody's not in that receiving mode, they're not in that receiving mode, and all I'm going to do is tick somebody off. So why not take in the lessons myself? Why not live the lessons myself? Why not express the lessons myself? And then rather than, right, expecting people to come along for that ride, why not let people discover it for themselves, see the evidence for themselves, and make those changes for themselves? I'm on my own journey. Like I said, I'm in here bumbling along just like everybody else. But I do it with goal setting. It has always worked for me, even before I woke up to any of these ideas. Gave me a little bit of a head start, right? A little bit of a footing. So whatever comes at me, right? Got a few lessons, a few tools on the belt. And I'm not saying bring it on. Definitely not saying bring it on, right? But I will ride those waves to the best that the best that I can, to the best of my ability, right? Understanding as long as I don't stop, as long as I never give up, right? As long as I adapt and conquer. Just put one foot in front of the other. Those baby steps that I'm always talking about. Movement can't help but happen. That snowball can't help get any bigger, right? Because it's going downhill. And in your goal setting, that's going to determine how big that hill is. Okay, you guys, that's my good chair. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.